Yep. Give me a nod when you're ready.
Like fourth.
Shooter's ready. Stand by.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Gunlock from the 3GIQ podcast. I'm joined here with Frank Gow, my co-host. I'm also joined with our special guest, Alex Goking, who is
Office fragged.
Yep. And then John Bodzioch, who is the OIC. Well, you're kind of the XO of the team, aren't you?
I am now, yeah.
Yeah, so he's the XO of the Marine Corps shooting team. It's our first time having him on, and he just got done shooting his first 3-gun competition. So we want to do a recap of the 2022 Microtech ProAm, and I wanted to get, a veteran shooter on here to kind of describe how everything went at the ProAm. And I also wanted to get somebody who's a newcomer to 3-gun. He's not new to the shooting sports. He spent the entire summer season shooting USPSA. But now he's had his fill with 3-gun. So we just kind of wanted to get opinions on how everything went. So I guess I'll start out with the first question. So you both just finished the Pro-Am. How would you describe that match, and what growth did you see in amateur shooters that progressed through your stages? Alex, if you could start out.
Sure, I can say, and everyone here knows that I'm a stage design nerd. Everyone's got to have their weirdness to them, but I'm going to compare it to last year's Microtech stages, where there were a lot more options. There's a lot more thinking that had to be done in your walkthrough. It was definitely like significantly more interesting, and I thought that it was pretty cool. Right, like everything, like just about everything had like some kind of context, and a lot of the targets there had a reason for being there. I would say that was I definitely love that part about it. And the growth in the amateur shooters, like running one of the stages, like you saw like different levels of growth. Like you got a couple guys who are like learning from the other shooters. They're like, oh crap, I can actually back out from this target before moving on to my next position, or like just learning new ways of attacking a stage. I saw that definitely on my stage. And even to the level of like, you had a couple of shooters where they were like, I'm going to tell this kid afterwards and like about his rifle, because he started shooting. He was hitting stuff at distance. I told him, don't change it right now, but your cantilever mount is partially mounted on your handguard, and that's not a monolithic upper. After this match, go ahead and fix that real quick, but you're hitting real good right now, so do not change anything till the end. So we're seeing like different levels of growth, like people just getting in, other people still learning the ropes of like probably like a higher level of competition, if that makes sense.
It does. No, I appreciate that. John, what can you add on?
So, I mean, first off, I would just describe the match as fun. It was a good time. I don't know if I got spoiled going to my first 3-gun match is this one or what. But like Alex was saying, I mean, there was a good diverse amount of stages. Each one was set up in a way that both made sense and it was challenging based on what your strength was. There were ones that were hard for rifle, harder for shotgun, and harder for pistol. And it really played to, however you wanted to run it, you could figure out a way to run it that made the most sense for you, which I thought was really cool, that there wasn't just one set way and it's who could do that the fastest or anything like that. So I thought that was really cool. And kind of a different flavor from USPSA sometimes, where you can kind of get a little bit repetitive depending on where you go. But Alex is usually really good about designing some good USPSA stages that don't have that trap.
Thank you, sir.
And then you're welcome. And then as far as when I was running my stages, just throughout the 3 days that we were being ROs, just the level of questions and situational awareness in the shooters that came through. That they would ask us, and when they would get there, their spatial awareness for the targets and the shooting area you could see it progress as they went through the match. In the amateurs a lot, obviously the pros, it was a competition in and of itself, just watching them do their thing against each other. But in the amateurs, just the level of questions and thought that went into it, at least I can attest this on my stage. I'm sure it was the same on other stages. But it was really cool to watch that growth happen during that time period, which is what I think that was probably one of the most impressive things through that. And you could tell just through those interactions that the pros were actually having a noticeable impact on those amateur shooters and how they were attacking these stages and creating their stage plans.
And I just want to kind of give the listeners, for those that don't know what the Pro-Am concept is, and this is going to kind of lead into Frank's next question, but the Pro-Am concept is it's kind of like I don't want to say it's an entry-level 3-gun match, because by no means is it entry-level, but it's a chance for a pro shooter to get paired up with an amateur shooter, and it's an opportunity for that pro shooter to impart knowledge upon that amateur shooter, to where there can be growth in such a short period of time. Whereas, like, otherwise you would have to get instruction from somebody. And you would have to pay for that instruction. So yes, you're still paying money, but it's in a match environment and you're getting on the spot coaching from a pro shooter. So it's a really cool kind of concept that realistically happens once a year. So I guess that's what's so special about this match, because you have two people that don't even know each other that are working together in kind of a father-son relationship. And, there's growth that is constantly happening throughout every stage each day.
Yeah. So given that particular layout of the match, what were some of the better pros that you saw in terms of like mentoring their amateur? What were some of the characteristics they brought, and what were some things they did that were like most helpful and beneficial to the growth of their amateur? Alex, we'll start with you.
Sure. I think this match has been around, so like a lot of people understood the pro and am relationship really well, where it's hard for me to really pick out a specific pro shooter, because they were all like doing their jobs. Like, it was easier to pick out people who weren't doing their jobs, but eventually on the stage they kind of did it. So I really don't have any pro shooter that sticks out in my mind, but I would say, but I can say that the ones that did like that I do remember were the ones like walking the stages, like running the stage plan of their amateurs, like right before during the walkthrough. And granted, there are times when I had to tell them, hey, clear the range, we got our next shooter. But in the end, like, what they were doing was right, because that's where you definitely want to coach the shooter the most, is in their walkthrough. And obviously the format of the match, they can coach and help out a bit, and talk to their shooters. And hell, one of the pros told the dude when he mounted the tank trap was like, hey, breathe. And obviously we all know, like, cool, like, we all know that breathing is part of it when shooting distance. But at that moment, for you to be told breathe on a tank trap while you're trying to shoot a difficult target, that kind of sticks with you. So I really like that concept. I'm pretty sure that amateur shooter is going to remember that for the rest of his life. And just the timing of the advice, right? We don't always get that opportunity when we coach people, but the timing of the advice with that Pro-Am format, I thought that was significant. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to you, John, would you say, we were talking about Disney movies before we started recording, would you say it's like akin to like hearing Mufasa come out through the clouds and just tell you to breathe on a tank trap?
Except it's Mufasa telling you 1.2 mils.
Hey, Mufasa has a wide array of knowledge at his fingertips. So
Hey,
he's going to help you with
Did that amateur shooter look like Simba looking up into the clouds, blowing the flowers out over the mountain?
Almost, except all he had to do was look at his receiver to see Mufasa next to a crosshair. That's an Anderson manufacturing joke.
Before we get before we get too sidetracked and possibly get like a copyright strike or something egregious because Disney is Disney. Would you say that this particular format brings a lot more for the amateur as opposed to like, Alex, you've like gone out and you sought pro shooters in like in an instructor setting. Is there something different that you get from actually having that pro shooter follow along with you throughout all the stages throughout the course of like a match?
Oh, 100%. Like, we've had that situation where we've told somebody over and over again, like, to do something, but obviously, like, it doesn't always click. That's just not how human beings work. We have to either know exactly how useful a piece of advice is before we fully like digest it. But it's another level of like, it sticks in a different manner when you're sitting here going to war with steel off of the tank trap, bang, 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 and somebody says, "Hey man, breathe," and then you're sitting there like, "Wait, hold on, let me try what he says, just once." Bang, hit. Holy crap, breathing is good. So like, it's a different effect when you're right there and you see that how useful that piece of advice is. Like, I think it's honestly like, this is like you're not only are you shooting a match, but you're getting that instruction on the spot as you're messing up. Like, that's some pretty that's freaking solid. I know there are lots of guys out there that you can pay them, or they offer to like shadow you during a match, which you have to go undergo instruction from those individuals first. Versus here, it's like, hey guys, I know you're pro shooters, go teach these amateurs. Freaking don't be a douche and help them out. Like, that's another level of high. That's another, I guess, version of high level instruction done in the right at the right moments. So I thought it was amazing.
I'd like to add something onto this whole thing, and it's like, it goes to the pro-am concept, but it also goes back to, whenever you go, like, this is more geared toward newer shooters in the sport. When you're at your local matches, like, pair up with people that are better than you. Like, yeah, shoot with your friends, but at the same time, like, find those really good shooters and get on a squad with them, because that is going to force you to get better. You're going to learn faster by seeing how others do things. Thanks, Alex. You just ruined
so
the
sorry.
podcast.
My bad.
You're just going to get so much better and have more growth by being able to visually see what those pro shooters are doing. And it's not necessarily the time to ask them the questions, but at the same time, you have opportunity to ask questions.
Yep.
John, anything to add? Any particular pro shooters you saw that were doing things really well, characteristics that stood out, and then just comments on the format itself?
So again, I'm new to this, is my first 3-gun match, so I'm not super familiar with the pro shooters in the sport. But for generalizations, I'd say the humility of knowing that they want to do their stage plan and prep how they are, but they also have that amateur with them that's just looking to suck up any information they can. And so really actually committing to knowing them, figuring out how they shoot, and just actually contributing to their growth and knowledge throughout the match. Whether that's telling them after they went, because typically the pros would go first, if they found something that they thought the amateur would mess up on, or if they themselves messed up on, and they provide that feedback, or even if it's something as simple as, like, on my stage, there was a dead sprint that you had to do from the shotgun portion of it to the rifle and pistol portion. Some of the amateurs didn't have their belts squared away. They didn't really test it prior to this. And so they'd be like losing pistol mags, losing rifle mags. And, you could tell sometimes really who was there to help out their amateur in the fullest senses. They'd be right there to snatch that mag up. And as soon as, they were there and looking for that mag, they'd hand it right to them. And they were there coaching and providing for that shooter and really helping them along. And that level of personal time and investment, I think, is what really put each pro apart from each other. But again, like Alex was saying, a lot of them, it was a lot easier to tell which ones were not doing a good job than it was to see which ones were doing a good job, just because so many of them were on top of it.
Nice.
Well said.
So this is the second year that the Marine Corps shooting team has served as ROs for this match. What stuck out in your mind this year compared to last year? And then why is it important for the team to continue to help at these major matches? Alex?
Second year, just disclaimer, last year I was running the side stage, which was it was fun, lots of steals, so I received a lot of spall. But this year, like, if I were to just kind of like bird's eye view it and see, what was going on, like, the thing that, I mean, besides the stages, just like, I think this year, well, it's a really tough comparison because last year there wasn't really a pro-am relationship on a side stage because it was pretty much just shoot the things and then shoot the things some more with the other gun. I will say though that if this was at all a thing last year, I'm pretty sure it's a lot stronger this year because on the number of pros helping their AMs. Because I remember last year it was like hey, remind the pros to help their AMs, remind the pros to help their AMs. And this year I was like, I don't have to remind anybody for anything. Like, I had dudes like freaking looking at the timer, like reaching over to see if what their M was about to par out. And they're like, all right, cool. Now shoot everything right now. You're like, you got 10 seconds. It's like, you got 10 seconds left. So I would say whatever we had last year was probably stronger this year. That would be a safe assumption.
And then why is it important for the team to continue to help in these major matches?
Multiple levels. It's one, you can really derive a lot of information watching people shoot when you're done shooting, when you're not the one shooting, and focus on your stage plan. You can literally watch every kind of shooter attack a stage, which I learned a lot, honestly, sitting there watching the pros, even watching the AMs, how they attack the stage. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. I will think about that next time I hit a tank trap. And I think it's the fact that 6 months out of the year, we're all ROs, we're all instructors. Some of us are MDs, some of us are RMs, right? I think it's important for us to learn from from running parts of the match to really understand like what goes into it. And we could tell people all day that this is going to happen, watch out for this, and so on and so forth. But when you run a match, when you run a major match, especially, those things start to become intuitive. You know what to look out for, you know what to do, you know how to speed things up, slow things down, or how to communicate with other stages. Like, hey, freaking, what's your squad doing? Cool. Very nice. Freaking, I guess they're gonna hit me up next. I think the most important part is one, understanding how to like run a match from an RO perspective, CRO perspective, which is important because, like I said, 6 months out of the year, that's all we do. The second part is like, this is like the community we thrive off of. Like, this is where we pull our information in order to teach people. This is where we benefit from just being there and like, oh crap, I just learned something on this stage. I'm going to take it back to the rear because I think the dudes freaking in the fleet could really use this. Like, part of it is like, let's give back to the community that gives us stuff. Like, a lot of our training techniques, our actual techniques, come from this community. And I think it just makes sense. Like, we're taking a lot from it. Let's give back a bit, let's put on some match shirts and hold a timer, 8 hours out of the day for like 3 days straight, nothing off our backs. It's a good time.
John?
I would 100% agree with everything you just said. I mean, it really boils down to three main things, and two of them, in my opinion, are more important than the third. First one is just like you were saying, giving back to the community. That I mean, half the year we're running mix. The other half of the year we're competing and going out and being a part of all these matches. So if we have the opportunity to give that back to that community, whether that's just something as simple as being ROs or being there to help the match director set up and tear down afterwards, one, it is good on us as the team, and it shows that our team isn't just here to shoot. We're here because we have the character to go off of, and we're here for the betterment of the community, not just for ourselves. And giving back to that, I think it is very, very important. And then also, just like you were saying, learning from the third person perspective. After a while, when you RO a stage for a while, like eventually you figure out either new ways to approach something and potentially what even is the best way to run that stage. And you can take that knowledge and digest it, figure it out, and then apply that to later competitions that you go and think, oh, I remember seeing this guy do this, and this situation is similar. Let me try that. And no matter what, if we're we're trying to always be students of this craft, then not only practicing in reps, but understanding what someone else is doing and seeing them do it is all part of that learning process. And the other part is just like Alex was saying, half the year we're ROs, match directors, for the mix. So any chance that we get to get practice reps and sets at doing that and improving that and making sure that we can do that, especially at a match where it's not just pros, it's people that maybe they're not as comfortable with all the different things that are going on, or they're new to the sport. It really helps us out for when we encounter all that down the line when we're running the mix. So I think really it's absolutely important for us to continue to give back to that community and take what we can from it while we do that as well.
So I'd like to add something to this, and I agree with everything that y'all have to say, because everything that you just said is 100% spot on. Another aspect of why I absolutely love being an RO is being able to see everybody in the community. You're not just seeing your one squad. You're not just, and then maybe hanging out with everybody else for maybe an hour afterwards. No, you are spending a dedicated amount of time with each and every single person. And you build your network. Two, you build friendships and you build lifelong memories. I'll say this, like years ago, Stats Arm Ferguson, he used to be on the team, Steven now. I was able to get him into SHOT Show. And when he went out there, he called me up like after the first day and he was like, dude, is there anybody that doesn't know who the hell you are? I was like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, dude, I can't go to a table where somebody just isn't asking about you and asking how you are. It's just like, dude, I don't know. But that is the value of what, being a good steward to the sport and being a good RO in these matches. It's what it does for you. And, that's the beautiful thing about it. And like we as a team, we can carry on that tradition, or you guys can carry on that tradition, and you can build your network base up and you can build friendships that are going to last a lifetime.
Yeah,
I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen a lot too. Like a lot of people that I meet from you through you, Matt. Obviously you've done a lot of good things going out there and talking to others throughout the community. So yeah, nothing but good things. And everything you guys said was completely on point. When you shoot a match, there's usually a stage that clicks, and then there's usually a stage that you wish you could go back and reshoot. So for this particular match, what was your favorite stage? What skills to draw upon and what went right for you? And then about the stage that you would like to have back, what skills would you focus on in order to improve upon whatever was deficient? Alex, we'll start with you.
All right. My girlfriend knows this really well. I'm really hard at doing the favorite game. So I'm going to give you favorite 1 and favorite 2. Right. So, hey, I'm so sorry. I see you. You're disappointed in me.
Bro.
I dishonored you.
Okay,
Because the second one is worth talking about. The first one is just like my favorite stage. Stage design. I think that was stage 5. That was the one you RO'd, right, sir? The one with the sprint.
Yes.
Yeah, that stage was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It made me think, like, if it's a good stage, it means that how much am I freaking out before the buzzer? The higher the freak out, the better the stage. Because if it was a complex stage, I'd be freaking out, and I love it. I love that adrenaline dump. Like, whew, I have no idea what's going to happen, but whatever. But I'm going to go to the other stage now. My stage that I would say had a very something I could have fixed, right? Stage 3, it was the rifle jungle run that ended on 3 distance steel, right? The skills that I would focus on, and what I love about it, the skills that it drew upon was gnarly hard splits immense sprinting and just sheer violence for about 60 seconds, or 53 when you forget to load your D60 all the way full because you think you don't really need all 60 rounds. In fact, he needed to reload before his last shot. So I would say, honestly, like reload my D60 if I want to improve on that deficiency. Load your D60 until you see all the rows in the window in the back have casings on it. That's one thing I would do. But second, like that was a stage where everything I noticed that everything I did, my movement, friggin' entries and exits were solid, but I'm not gonna look at Tyler Ariano and be like, man, that dude's fast and just be cool with it. But how do I get that fast? Even though I'm like twice his weight, what do I need to do? I should probably do more sprints because I want to be able to smoke a jungle run in his speed really hard. So I would say that right now, what I need to work on is the ability to move a lot harder, and do so at a match. So that's what I have in mind based off of my favorite stage ish. Thank you.
Okay, and then stage that didn't go so well.
What's up?
Stage that didn't go so well that you wish you could have been able to reshoot.
Oh yes, it's actually the exact stage that I RO'd. The tank trap, and I told the amateur shooters this, like, hey, freaking just be deliberate. Doesn't matter. Don't think about too much stuff. Like, try to make the tank trap so complicated. I spent like 4 or 5 seconds finding another position because I was like, where was that one target that I planned to shoot fourth? Where did it go? Where did it go? And I'm like, there it is. I was just too low. So I need to be a little bit more deliberate on my distance, like rifle planning, and like know that, okay, cool. I need to remember I got 2 positions on this tank trap in order to hit those targets. So I won't be freaking sticking my head out like a groundhog looking for, whatever groundhogs look for, honestly. I don't know what they do.
They're shadows.
Nice.
Supposedly.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Good. John?
So I would honestly probably say stage 7 was my favorite. Now, mind you, I had a blast on all of them, and I was the entire time Alex was talking, I was thinking long and hard about which one would be my favorite. But I want to say that one because it's one of the few that didn't involve any pistol. And not to say that I don't like pistol. I love pistol. That's why I shot it. That's part of the reason I shot it the entire summer. But it was shotgun and rifle, and it was the 2 things that I got to practice the least. So it was one of the greatest challenges for me. And while I was going through it, I just felt very confident in it. I was getting my hits with a shotgun. I didn't drop any shells on my quad loads, which was awesome. And then I know that was big. That was a win. That was a big win. And then got to the rifle, and it was some close-up targets, and then transition out to a know your limits target, and then 3 targets at distance. And it felt good. Obviously, could have been much better. It could have been a lot quicker, but for what it was, it felt good going through it. And it just all the things from the day before kind of seemed to coalesce and click a little bit on that one. And it was a really fun stage. As far as skills I can focus on, the answer is yes, I can focus on all of them. I need to, just coming into it, but I really liked just kind of throwing myself in there because it kind of showed me what I can get away with for a little bit and what I really need to focus on. And I think shotgun, especially, and my ability to confidently and quickly manipulate it and keep it fed, and just understanding the system as a whole is really something I need to work on. With rifle, both holds and my confidence up close with taking the quick targets quickly, to include steel, are the 2 things that I would really like to focus on, specific to the 3-gun, just because I have every intention of continuing with USPSA, the pistol side. So I think that'll help take care of itself. But for this, I really think just confidence with the weapon system and knowing it to the level that I can be as proficient as I want to be with it, which, as we all know, is impossible. You're never as proficient as you want to be. but I think that's definitely what would improve upon the most, is just getting more time behind it and understanding it.
Nice.
I think you left out the part that stage 7 was where you smoked the rest of us at
I
your
don't know what
first
you're
3-gun
talking about.
match. Yeah, you smoked all of us. It's like that's my favorite stage because it made everyone else hurt.
So, all right, I gotta give a shout out to Sergeant Garcia. That, like, we're all talking about how this was my first 3-gun match. This was his first 3-gun match. He got unlucky enough to get shot out to instill some discipline in candidates over at OCS as soon as he got here. And he came and he showed up. Like, he showed up, and you're saying I smoked everybody. That man made that stage his own. I mean, he took it and quite literally ran with it. Personally, I was most impressed with that guy.
I'm gonna say, like, I don't know Garcia well. Like, I know him from the Mix. And then, you know, he came to us and then he kind of quickly left to OCS. But every experience I have had with him, I have been nothing but thoroughly impressed. I am so glad we were able to get him onto the team because he's just going to be a really good steward to the sport and to the team. Like, he's extremely professional, he's extremely proficient, and he's just a really good human being. So I'm glad he's there.
I completely agree.
I agree 100%. And I think there's a lot of people trying to fight to be the next Chris Scott. He's definitely one of those people who's in the running.
Oh yeah, he's and you know, credit to himself. Like, he shot the Mix, I think 2 years ago or so, and that's what gave him the competitive shooting bug. And he competed at local matches and he kept up with it, and so he finally got to the team. And you know, he's already coming to the team at a higher level, much like guys like you know, Cardenas and Nelson, like guys who are already established in their shooting disciplines. So he kept up with that. So he's just going to have nothing but like full potential and growth from here on out. And, you know, I'm glad I'm staying local to where the team is, because I just want to watch him grow as a teammate.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is, you know, John, I know this, you know, that was your first time going to a 3-gun match and like your first time going to Clinton House. You have been at some matches. So you know, from your perspective, I want to kind of get your perspective on how you really enjoy the Clinton House as a location, and, you know, and then answer the question as best as you can. But we're going to start with Alex. So Alex, you know, what makes a Clinton House such an accommodating location for large scale events such as a Pro-Am and the Zoo City Armory Fall Brawl?
No, just the sheer size of the area and all the availability of so many different like types of ranges. You have bays, you have long bays, you have like natural terrain, you have a bunch of ducks. Like it's complete. It has everything. Oh yeah, and by the way, West Lane did show up. He popped by, and we all are agreed that the ducks took his keys. But yes,
even though they were in his boots the whole time.
Yeah, the ducks put it there, I swear. So yeah, it's like all I think Lieutenant Bud and I had a conversation. It's like this is I need to end up with a place like this. I need to end up with a place like this when I retire. Lots of land, lots of place to shoot, a good portion of it to generate passive income. Like freaking, it's amazing. Like it's awesome. Like yeah, it's a phenomenal range. Like there's just so much you can do there. Plus, I mean, it's awesome that we have a place to stay on the premises, so nobody's worried about like, oh, who's gonna DD? We could literally walk back. Granted, it'll be a long walk from like wherever we're meeting up at to like where we're gonna stay at. And the accommodations this year at the Brick House was pretty nice. You know, we got the we all got to be in the same spot. So like as an introvert, that was also kind of rough because I needed my alone time, which was yesterday for me. But on the bright side, like you're always around everybody, you're having a good time. It's oh my gosh, like Clinton House is wild. It's just fun. Like and like there's that hidden gem of when you're all in the same spot after the match, after ROing. It doesn't matter how smoked you are. You're sitting at a table with the likes of Fifi, Wiseman, Don, Bryson, freaking just sitting there, just talking, hanging out. Like that's also an element that goes with it, right? Like when you're at your own hotels, it's a different story. But here you're all together and you're talking, and there's a lot of good things that happen, and a lot of it's therapy for sure.
Before
Definitely.
John, you start. I want you to describe Don Bryson. Like you told me this very specific detail, and I love Don myself. Like he is an awesome American. He's an awesome human being, and I love listening to him speak. So go ahead.
Don Bryson is a national treasure and needs to be protected at all times. Like he's a man who is just comfortable in his own skin, doesn't really care. Such a nice dude, and his character just seems like we had this like little freaking Don Bryson lore that we just started, that at some point Don Bryson is gonna accidentally stumble upon freaking, let's say, saving the president's life somewhere, like unassumingly, and then magically just become a national hero and like kind of like sit there and be like, well, I guess I did. Let me see. Freaking like he just seems like that kind of guy. Really entertaining. Like when he shit talks, it doesn't matter. It's like when he shit talks somebody else, freaking you shouldn't, if ever Don Bryson shit talks you, don't ever worry about it, because we're all looking at Don because he is freaking entertaining and he just walks around like without a care in the world. Freaking, and his deep like southern, like I'm not sure what region his accent's from, but it's freaking awesome. Like, yeah, Don Bryson is a national treasure.
So now that we got a long-winded response about Don Bryson, John, can you answer the question about Clinton House and your experience there?
And Don Bryson.
And Don Bryson. Well, in regards to the Clinton House portion of it, I mean, I completely agree with Alex. Just the sheer size and diversity of the areas available there, be it the short bays or the different ranges, which even has some marked differences in topography as well. Like you can have jungle runs and then go out and you can stretch out for hundreds of yards and put targets all over the place and really test out everything from up close to distance and do it on the same stage as well, which is a unique concept, at least to me, compared to the ranges that I've been at before. And then just like you were saying with taking care of the staff and the ROs there, rather than have everyone kind of figure out their own way in a hotel, that we stayed at the Brick House and it was a pretty cool experience. Just shacking up with everybody and building that camaraderie with all the other people there, just figuring out who people were, and just building those relationships that you were talking about. And it was really cool, just kind of getting to meet a lot of these people. Plus, I really enjoyed the fried bologna sandwich. That was delicious.
Oh, the Jeremy Swafford fried bologna sandwich.
It was everything I had hoped for, heard of, and more. It was, I don't know what that man does, but he sprinkles some magic on there.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I
appreciate
that.
And a great many other people are very happy for you that you did that.
Hey, I do what I can, even at a distance.
You had three kings at that match: the king of food, the king of bologna sandwiches, and the Dairy King JC Schumacher. But that's a different podcast.
Before we go to Frank's last question, I have to ask.
Sorry.
I have to ask one last thing. So, for those who are friends with me on Facebook, know that I posted a very specific video of Chris Wiseman on a kayak, like falling into the water. while shooting at the Fort Benning multi-gun last year. And I posted it specifically because I knew he was ROing at this match and other people that were going to be at the match would give him shit about it. What was his reaction about that?
I wasn't ROing with him, but we definitely relived that video several times on one of the nights. Yeah, we relived a lot of moments, and that was one of them for sure. And
I know when you guys FaceTime me out there, like he just like, oh, thanks for fucking posting that video again.
That's why he FaceTimed you. Got it.
Yep.
Nice.
I don't know if you went far enough, man. I would have put like the Celine Dion song from the Titanic.
Oh.
No,
Actually,
that's what it was.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
It was the recorder version, the crappy recorder version.
I think I had it on mute when I was watching it. It was just the physical
shame,
you know.
I mean, if I really wanted to go super far, like me and Chris Wiseman have been like roommates at every match that we've RO'd together pretty much. So I could have easily taken a picture of him in his tighty whities and posted that on Facebook.
Save it for another.
Oh, it's like putting a microfiber cloth on a bowling ball.
All right. Last question.
I'm not sure I wanted that image in my head, guys.
Oh,
Good Lord.
people are going to be able to see this episode. Thank you, Alex.
Intrusive thought.
So, we've talked about it before, but everything that you guys just learned about coaching shooters and walking someone through the sport of action shooting during the pro-am, how would you boil it down into like 2 or 3 bits of information that you would give a new shooter? And it could be someone about to go into a local match, or it could just be a shooter at the upcoming MICMIC, which you guys are about to launch into MICMIC season. So Alex, we'll start with you.
All right, number 1, don't chase gear. All right, the minimum gear is available to you if you have a friend. If not, freaking contact the individuals running this podcast. Like, you can borrow gear, that's fine. But don't spend your time chasing gear. Chase training. All right.
Don't be a Tony Alvarez.
Hey, he's at recruiting school. He's already going through enough. So, don't chase gear. Don't look for the best thing out there. Look for what you need and focus heavily on training. 2, learn how to shoot your pace, but I'd give that to everybody, honestly, not just an amateur shooter. And don't, number 1 thing though, like I guess my third point, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't worry about your scores. Don't worry about placement. Just go out there, be safe, and just do it. That usually does the trick, right? And then you'll kind of know what to do afterwards. Like, you'll know exactly like, okay, cool, I messed up on this. Let me work on this. And then it starts this training continuum of like this furthering up the ladder of excellence. And remember that, like, nobody really cares about your score more than you. I always tell people that, at the end of the day, the only person who cares about my scores is Scott Rader, but otherwise nobody else. Freaking so. Yeah, he hawks the scores. Like, he knew exactly what my placement was in Microtech, and he had a very straight face when he had that. I was like, whoops, okay, whatever. So yeah, just get out there. Don't worry too hard about the specifics. Be safe and just do it. And ask a lot of questions. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people there who are willing to answer, just don't want to give freaking unsolicited advice. Like, trust me on this. There are lots of shooters who don't want to give unsolicited advice, so they're going to leave you alone for the most part. But I can tell you right now, a majority of good shooters out there, we'll call it 90%, 90-10 rule. Hey, JJ Rakaza hashtag. So 90% of shooters out there are gonna they're gonna help you. They just don't want to be the guy to like unload a crap ton of information onto you. And some of them will stick around with you at the safe area at the end of the match and like work with you. So just get out there and shoot.
The only thing I would add is like ask specific questions. Like when you see someone go through a stage, ask them about why they took that particular approach, or ask them if they meant to do things a certain way. They'll be completely honest with like, no, that was a glitch in the matrix, dude. Like, I completely messed that up. I'll give you an example of a question not to ask. For USPSA, one of my shooters is like, what's a good hit factor? I'm like, dude, that's not something that I can answer. And he insisted that he wanted the answer. I was like, this conversation is not going anywhere. But anyway.
It's like, yeah, the 3-gun version is what's the best shotgun? So you're never going to go anywhere with that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just total non sequitur. But John, over to you, man. Some of the highlights that you would convey to new shooters.
Absolutely. So biggest things, just like y'all were saying, ask questions, but ask pointed questions, ask specific questions. Especially if you're new and getting into it, ask if you have any questions at all, ask it to someone who's there. It looks like they know what's up. The worst they can say is, dude, I don't know, or hey, I'm in my own space right now, and just you figure it out on your own. The other two I have is practice. Find a specific something that you feel like you're not as good as you want to be at, and practice it. The majority of what you can get better at, you can do without ammunition. Like practice it, whether that's your reloads or whether that's just dry firing at a piece of cardboard or tape on the wall. Just figure out what it is that you think you need to improve on and focus on it. And then every time you go to a match, try to learn something and take that and carry it forward. Eventually, just through those reps and sets, you're going to end up better than you were. I mean, for instance, when we were at Microtech, I was just chilling in bed at the end of the day, absolutely smoked. And I was looking through a couple of the videos that I took a year ago when I was shooting in Hawaii. And I looked at them and I just about threw up in my mouth. I was like, good Lord, I do not like the way that looks. And back then I thought it was great, but hindsight being what it is, suddenly you look back with all this newfound knowledge you have on where you thought you were, where you wanted to be, and you were at that time. But then it just all accumulates. And now, having gone that farther forward and progressed, you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, look at where I was, look at where I am. And it really helps to trying to bring it all together whenever you're doubting yourself. Like, look, I'm progressing. And if this is where I am right now, and that's where I was, imagine where I can be as long as I keep up with this.
So I've been taking a few pointers down as you guys have been talking. And so to your last point of watching videos from like last year into your progression, like I remember watching videos from when I was shooting 8 years ago, and I cannot physically finish those videos because I'm just so embarrassed, because I'm just like, oh my God, like that was me. And it's kind of like that kind of euphoric moment, like holy shit, I am where I'm at. And I have like, realistically, for me myself, I have the team to thank for that, because we have such a good program and we have such good people at the team. Well, I can't say we anymore because I'm not part of the team. Like, I'm retired now. I miss you guys. But so you're absolutely right. Like the amount of progression of where you were and where you are, it's a beautiful thing. But it can still be embarrassing, and whenever those videos do surface. And to Alex's point, one, I was score hawking too, and I was yep, I was one of those guys.
Nosy.
But I have to agree with you. Like, nobody gives a damn about your performance except you. So when you step up to that line, and perform for yourself. Don't perform for anybody else. It's your one chance to go prove to yourself that you're capable of doing something. And my last point is really to the Marines that are going to be competing at this upcoming year's Marine Corps marksmanship competition. So one thing I found absolutely impressive, this was back in 2019. It was December of 2019 at Mick Far East. And I remember getting done with the day, coming back to the range house in Okinawa, and, Master Guns Sean Hughes, great fucking individual. Like, I love him to death. One of the best master gunnery sergeants I've ever met. Like, he wasn't competing, but he was out there and he was invested into his shooters, and he was invested in their growth. And he was out there giving them tips and showing them how they can improve. And and they were doing nothing but dry firing. And his guys like made it far and placed well at Mick Far East. And then whenever it came to the team match, they freaking excelled again. So it was really good to see a senior leader going out there with their Marines being invested in their growth. So those are the points I have. So like I really enjoyed this episode, and it's got me really fired up for this coming weekend. I'm going out to Mountain State 3-gun championship, and it's the first 3-gun match I've shot since 3-man 3-gun and the Duskin match this year in June. So I'm totally fucking pumped. I've missed competing, but I'm really excited to get out there with some of my friends.
Nice.
Nice.
Sweet.
But that does cover all the questions. So to the listeners out there, I really do hope you enjoyed this episode. When you see the Microtech ProAm come up next year, register for it. Like whether you're an amateur, you're a pro shooter, be a part of this community, be a part of this sport, have fun, enjoy it. You're going to get something out of this match specifically, whether you're a pro shooter or whether you're an amateur shooter, because this one is there to teach both parties what it is to be a coach and what it is to be a student. So get out there, have fun. And for those who are going to the fall brawl, like the Clinton House is a really good venue, and just, enjoy the surroundings, enjoy as John's put it, the topography.
Water features.
Yes. So go out and have fun. I hope you enjoyed this. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, ask the Marine Corps shooting team. I reach out to me. I can get a hold of them. They'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you have any questions specific to us that you'd like to ask us, me and Frank are more than happy to answer any of those questions. So at that note, have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time.